This is our squat assessment. Squat is a fairly loosely defined term in movement. Most people will think about this type of motion if we say squat, but really we're talking about any vertical transition of the body from up and down positions can kind of classify as squats, and there are lots of different variants that we can do. We're going to concentrate on 4 different types. The first squat we're going to think about is an upright spine squat, where you're going to bend your knees and ankles to lower yourself down as far as you can before there's any change in the position of the back. So we don't want any forward tip or bum out behind. We simply want to lower through ankle and knee bend, keeping the back in whatever position it is as you stand relaxed. And as you get to the bottom of that movement, we want to think about evenness in tension and flexibility in both legs and any discomfort that you have anywhere. If you're not sure if you're keeping your back upright, being able to see yourself in a mirror is a really good idea, because a lot of people will end up in a bit of forward lean and not notice that they're doing it. So it looks really simple. Mechanically, it's quite simple, but if there are things off in your visual, vestibular and spinal systems, then often there is a compulsion to lean forward. You just can't get the movement to come all the way through the ankles. And if you're protective of your ankles or the front part of your knees, this often is a really challenging movement to get the knees going forward without having the bum going backward. So essentially, one more time, it is keep the spine in its upright, normal, neutral standing position, and then how low can you drop and what discomfort do you feel as you get into this position. So that's our first and our easiest version of squatting. Second, we have our toe squat. So a toe squat, we're going to get onto the balls of the feet and we're going to lower right down into this position. Hands on the floor to support you is fine. Knees can be wide or they can be narrow, but it's really testing your ability and your preparedness to fully flex the knees and balance on the ball of the foot. So we want to be able to go down and up from that position, essentially leading with the head and making sure you can hit a nice relaxed bottom of that squat position. If it feels easy, we move on to the next one. If you find yourself stuck over to one side or hovering and unable to find relaxation at the bottom of the movement, then it can be a really kind of key marker for you to use as we move forward. So that's a toe squat, easy for some, really difficult for others. Number 3 is our hip squat, where we are going to leave the feet flat on the floor, bend the knees a little, and then essentially try and put the front part of the rib cage as close to or on the thighs as you can. So it's like a skier in a downhill tuck position. Your bum should be higher than your head or at least level with it, and we're really thinking about whether both hips are comfortable to get into this fully closed position and whether we've got the flexibility in the back to allow it to happen. Again, hands can go on the floor to give you a little bit of support if you need, but can you get into that basic position? Does your right side feel the same as your left side? But if your hips aren't the strongest bit of your movement system, then this will often hang open and you won't quite be able to close that gap down. Try with different foot positions to see where you're most comfortable, but you should be able to get full closure of the front of the rib cage onto the front of the thigh in that position. And number 4 is our deep squat, our toughest squat assessment, where we're going to leave the whole of the sole flat on the floor. Doesn't matter exactly where you put your feet, but do roughly the same with both legs in terms of turnout, but choose the width of stance that feels most comfortable. And then we're going to see how low we can get our backside with our feet flat on the floor. And again, it should feel like a rest at the bottom. We should be able to relax fully into this position. Allowing the back to relax and round is exactly what we're after. And essentially, we're scoring points by how close our backside is to the ground and how comfortable we feel in this position. So we're assessing the flexibility of the whole leg and lower back system, and it's also a test of our balance and our front strength. So if you hit the bottom of this movement, then it's probably not the most relevant test for you unless there's some discomfort with it. But if you find yourself unable to get to the bottom, either because you lack the flexibility and mobility in the ankles, knees or hips, or you can get to the bottom but you just fall out the back of the movement, then it's going to be an important marker for us to try and improve as we move forward. So this movement should feel pretty easy, but it is one that a lot of people find difficult. Even those with a good athletic and sporting background will often struggle to do this body weight, barefooted, feet flat on the floor version of squatting. So if it's not something that you find easy, then it's a good idea to think that it's going to be a priority. We've got those 4 different squats: upright squat, toe squat, hip squat, and deep squat. And basically all of them should feel pretty easy. Take note of which one you struggle with the most and why you struggle with it, and then we can move on to the next segment.